What's good, fam? What's good? What's good? What's good? Let me see if I can sit this down over here like I really want to. Hope y'all can hear me pretty good. I'm at the gym right now, getting it in. Getting ready to get this chest workout popping. But I wanted to come on and holler at y'all a little bit today too, man. I want to get into this whole Nas Jim Jones situation. You know, I wasn't really gonna do a whole broadcast and talk about it like that, because I'm like, Nas Jim Jones, like it's not a real comparison. Like, I'm not really taking it too serious. But it's been trending for a few days, so it's a real popular topic. One of the posts that I made, I put up an old video of Nas talking about Jim Jones back in like 05, and that thing got over 200,000 views in 2 days. So I'm like, damn, this is a hot topic, and so I definitely want to chime in on it, especially being that when I first started doing Cecile of the Godcast, the very first episode I did, I think the first 2 or 3 episodes that I did were talking about Nas. And so my whole podcast originally was going to be based on me talking about Nas and hip hop, you know what I'm saying? But specifically Nas. I was going to be one of those Nas channels. And so really that's still the foundation of my podcast. So I'm like, it makes sense for me to go ahead and chime in on this Nas Jim Jones situation. But let me warm up real quick, man. I'm gonna chop it up with y'all in between my sets. Let me see if I can put this down in a cool spot. It's kind of janky. Let me see. How about that? That good? That might be good. That might be a pretty good angle right there. Let me warm up real quick, man. But yeah, man, for those of y'all, if you ain't been paying attention, Jim Jones was on a podcast with Fat Joe and Jadakiss, and Fat Joe had brought up a video that was going online where there was one of the young guards, 22-year-old young man. I don't know what podcast he was on, but they was asking him, I guess, somehow the comparison of Jim Jones and Nas came up, and you know the young man was saying Jim Jones all day. Like, Jim Jones, we fuck with Jim Jones way more than we fuck with Nas. Jim Jones is lit, Nas ain't really lit like that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, a lot of young 22, 21, 22-year-olds, they don't really know about Nas like that. You know what I'm saying? The thing about Nas has maintained a comfortable level of success throughout his career. He never was the biggest superstar in rap. He never was like the #1 hit maker in rap, but he has always been consistently one of the most well-respected and still remaining commercially successful and all of that as well. You know what I'm saying? Going platinum, Billboard hits, all of that stuff. Award-winning, you know, global icon. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, Nas has always been respected just as a poet, just as an MC and a lyricist. And so, you know what I mean? If you young and you in the clubs and all that, and your pops and your moms, they didn't raise you off of that type of shit, you ain't gonna know about it. Because Nas don't make music for that. You know what I'm saying? His music is not geared for the clubs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Except for certain parts of his career where the label made him do those kind of records. specifically for the radio, specifically for the clubs. You know, at a certain point in his career, he didn't have that type of creative control where he had to do some of that stuff. So he got some of those in his catalog, and they know the songs when they hear them. But again, it's not like they riding around bumping Nas like that. So the young boy's answer wasn't disrespectful or nothing. That's his perspective. You know what I'm saying? That's based on his experience. Nas is not the soundtrack to his life. That's okay. Let me do this next set real quick. I'm gonna try to chop it up with y'all while I'm getting my workout in. Load that 225 up on there real quick. Technically, this is my first set. I'll probably go up one. After this, I'll probably go up a little bit heavier. You know what I mean? Just to feel some of that weight. And then I'll work my way down. But like I was saying, there's nothing wrong with the answer that the young man gave. You know what I'm saying? He's speaking from his experience. He's speaking from his perspective. Nas is not the soundtrack to his life. You know what I'm saying? He resonates more with Jim Jones. That's okay. Nothing wrong with the answer that he gave. So on the Fat Joe Jadakiss podcast, when they asked him about it, really, all Jimmy had to do was say, you know, that's what's up. You know what I mean? Shout out to that young man. He rock with me like that. Respect to Nas. You know, we grew up off of Nas. You know, much respect to him. But yeah, some people out there fuck with me heavy like that. It's all good. He could have just left it at that. But Jimmy, you know, fragile ego, false sense of masculinity and machismo and all of that, arrested development, still has a childhood, adolescent mindset, you know what I'm saying? So his response is to pump his chest out and bang his chest and talk about how, yeah, Nas was back then, but I'm popping now and all of that shit. You know what I mean? 1 second. Do this shit. Motherfucker felt heavy. I don't think I warmed up good. I don't think I warmed up good enough. That motherfucker felt heavy. Moving around a little bit. But yeah. So that's all he really had to say. That's all he had to really say. You know, shout out to the young boys. No much respect to Nas. You know what I'm saying? All of that other shit, uncalled for, delusional. You know what I'm saying? All of the above. Egregious. All of the above. You know what I mean? To try to act like you in that same category. You know you're not. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But then he started try to make it a numbers game. Talking about how we need to pull up his Billboard entries, Nas Billboard entries, his album charts, Nas' album charts and all that. Like, again, delusional. Nas never been a #1 rap superstar in the world. However, he still got way more hits, way more platinum plaques, way more all of the number shit than Jim Jones. Way more. So even in the numbers game, you still take the L. And that's not even Nas' strong point. You know what I'm saying? The numbers thing is not really Nas' strong point. But you still take the L, even if you try to go that route. So he played himself with that. That shit ended up going viral. Everybody was doing responses to it. And then he does the podcast with Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp and I forgot the football player's name. What's his name? T.O.? The football player that Shannon Sharp do the podcast thing with. I think it's T.O. If it ain't T.O., my bad. But whatever, he was talking to Shannon Sharp about the situation, and Shannon's like, nigga, why would you say some dumb shit like that? You know you ain't fucking with no Nas. And so he's still trying to, look, man, I fucked up with the numbers and all that, but at the end of the day, I'm way more influential than Nas. Like, influential? What is your influence? What is your influence? What is your legacy? You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to act like Dipset didn't have their moment and do what they do, or that Jimmy wasn't a part of that. It was a thing. It was definitely a thing. But it wasn't really a good thing. It's not really something I would really, as a grown man, be popping my collar too hard and looking at as a great contribution to the culture or to the rap game at all. I wouldn't be looking at it that way in hindsight as a grown man if that was my contribution. Peace to the God, saying Kofa, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Because I remember when they had this shit in the yoke, like 02, 03. I think I came home like the end of 02 going into 03. And Dipset was hot. Dipset was on fire. 50 Cent was really hot in the game. 50 Cent was one of the ones that was out here really, really running shit. But Dipset was having their moment as well. And I remember coming home and my whole neighborhood was blood all of a sudden. All the young niggas in the neighborhood was blood. All my nephews and all of that, them niggas wanted to be like Dipset. Them niggas was wearing Dipset chains and Dipset hats and Dipset tattoos and all type of shit. And everybody was blood all of a sudden. You know what I mean? That did happen. What up, Edo? What's good? You know what I'm saying? And so, I remember, because I wasn't really fucking with their music like that, to be honest. Let me do this set real quick. Let me do this set. Speaking of Nas, y'all hear that shit in the background? Where them jobs at? They shooting. More like it. More like it. That first set was kind of heavy. That's more like it. Warming up a little bit now. But yeah, I wasn't really fucking with Dipset music heavy like that. They had some songs that was cool that I rocked with or whatever, but I wasn't on no Dipset shit bumping on their music like that. I just wasn't. You know what I mean? I came up in a time where heavyweight lyricism mattered, and it was a thing. And Dipset wasn't really giving that. With Dipset, it was all about swag. It was swag over substance. I was used to substance. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, they had some cool songs, but it wasn't nothing I was rocking with too heavy. I thought Jewels was dope. To me, Jewel Santana stood out when they was making that run. Cam had fell off to me from a lyrical standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Prior to the whole Dipset thing, when Cam did, you know, Confessions of Fire, and I think he had another album before that, TDE or something like that. What was it called? I forgot what it was called. But Cam was spitting before, early on in his career. But when that whole Dipset shit came, that's when he was just on some, I get computers, people, and that type of shit. You know what I mean? He wasn't really saying nothing. And so, to me, Jewels, he kind of stood out. I like Jewels' flow, his energy. He was a young nigga. You know, to me, his verses always stood out. And his first album, What the Game's Been Missing, I thought it was pretty dope. Jim, at that time, I didn't even look at Jim as a real rapper. Jim was just a nigga that was in the videos, you know, hype man or whatever. He wasn't even really a rapper like that yet. But to give respect where respect is due, I would say he's definitely the most improved. He got better over time. You know what I'm saying? He carved out his own lane, and he got his own thing going, you know? He made ballin' and all of that. And, you know, he created an identity for himself. And I'm pretty sure he got a good fan base out there. That's what's up. But he never elevated to the level to be in a conversation with a Nasir Jones. Like, that's crazy talk. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. Like I said, when I came home at that time, when them niggas was running shit, I didn't really like that shit, to be honest. When I saw what happened to my hood, all these little blood niggas running around, all my nephews running around, because, you know, I went through what I went through in the streets. I was coming home from a bid, and I know my nephews, you know what I'm saying, they saw me, they looked up to me. They wanted to be like me to a certain degree from the way I looked, from their perspective. You know, the respect that I had on the streets and shit like that, and, you know, the dumb shit that gets glorified coming up in the hood. You know what I'm saying? So from their perspective, I think that they thought the Dipset niggas was like a reflection of me, they uncle. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, that's the example right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to follow in my uncle's footsteps, and Dipset is really giving them the template. You know what I'm saying? Not understanding that, nah. That type of clown shit was never cool, even on the street level where I came from. Them niggas was looked at like clowns, to be honest. Them niggas looked like buffoons and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? The streets always had a level of consciousness. The streets always had a level of intelligence and certain level of integrity and things like that, which I didn't see really displayed by Dipset. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, them niggas was like very childlike, very buffoonish. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I didn't respect it. And I used to tell my nephews, like, yo, y'all niggas listen to them sucker niggas. Y'all trying to be like them sucker niggas. Them niggas is hoes. You know what I'm saying? Those type of niggas that get bitched up and behind the wall and all of that. I used to be telling my nephews that shit, like, yo, them niggas is clowns, man. Y'all trying to be like them niggas is clowns. And that's how I really felt. Like, I resented the fact that my nephews looked up to these niggas. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even look at that movement as really being hip hop. Like, that's some rap shit. That's not really hip hop. That's some rap shit. You know what I'm saying? Nas is like the epitome of hip hop culture personified. You know what I'm saying? He's like the avatar for what hip hop culture would look like personified. You know what I mean? So again, that comparison is ridiculous. Let me get this next set in. Actually, I'm gonna go up on the weight a little bit. This shit gonna be kind of heavy. That's that 275 right here. Let me show y'all. Damn, I don't even know how to turn the camera around on this shit. Go ahead, though. Yeah. About to. There we go. About to push up that 275 a couple of times. I just want to feel a little bit of weight on my chest, and I'm gonna start working my way down from there. I don't really do too much in here. I don't really be doing too much. I'm gonna feel a little something. Sankofa said he's the logo. Facts. Super facts. Nas is the logo, nigga. He's the logo of this shit. For real, like, you know what I mean? We gotta really talk about Nas's career. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna get back into that on my YouTube broadcast. Like I said, I started off creating Nas content. And I'm gonna get back into that, especially since he's about to drop this album with Premier, all the stuff he's doing with Mass Appeal, you know, the Slick Rick new project, you know, the honors award ceremony that he created, all of the investments. It's a lot to talk about with Nas and the legacy that he's still creating and carving out. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, he's the logo of this shit. Mind if I grab those dimes, brother? Mind if I grab these dimes? Appreciate it. So, yeah. Well, where was I in the story? He went on the Club Shay Shay. Club Shay Shay was like, come on, man. And Shannon Sharp, let's be clear. Shannon Sharp is not like a big hip-hop head connoisseur type dude. Shannon Sharp is more like a casual rap listener. But even he knows better. Even the casual rap fan knows better. You know what I'm saying? He like, come on, Jim. Don't be ridiculous, man. You know you ain't fucking with no Nas. What was you smoking? You know what I'm saying? And so, Jim, he tried to defend his bullshit ass position, saying more delusional shit and all of that. And basically calling Nas out, telling Nas to get in the booth and all of that. Shannon was saying Nas, he don't do that no more, he's retired and all of that, which isn't true. So again, like I said, Shannon, you know, he's not a real hip-hop head like that, you know what I'm saying? Casual listener at best. He probably, if you ask him to name some Nas songs, he probably going to say, If I Ruled the World, you know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Hate Me Now, shit like that. He probably don't even really know the real shit, you know what I mean? But that's okay. He knew enough to defend that. And also, as a journalist, he's asking questions that the people want asked. You know what I'm saying? He's not necessarily even speaking from his own perspective. He's doing an interview, and his job is, you know, to get shit going, get the conversation going, convert the shit into clicks and views and all of that. So his job is to express what the people are thinking as well. So people are feeding him questions to ask and all of that too. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the whole production going on behind the scenes. You can even see him looking at his screen when he asks some of the questions. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so when he talked about Nas being retired and all of that, like, nah, Nas is still very active. You're not gonna act like this 6-album run that he went on with Hit Boy didn't happen in this decade. You know what I'm saying? Nas put out at least 3 new classics. Like the whole double trilogy is fire. You know what I'm saying? All of the albums is fire, but at least 3 of them are certified classics in today's modern era. You know what I'm saying? Magic 1, Magic 3, and King's Disease 3. Those 3 to me, those you could put those next to any album in his catalog. So he's still putting out music now that's just as good as he ever put out from the 90s, early 2000s, or whatever. Like, he ain't miss a step. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, he getting ready to drop this album with Premier. So no, he's definitely not retired. But obviously he's above responding to a Jim Jones. He spoke about that 20 years ago. The video that I put up was from 2005, where he was saying, like, imagine me picking up the pen to write some shit about Jim Jones. Like, what would I say about a Jim Jones? Like, he's not worthy. He's not worthy. And like I said, I put that video up, and that shit going crazy right now on Instagram. Over 200,000 views in 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Let me get this next set in. Let me get this next set. Yeah. All right. So yeah, man. You know, I don't really expect Nas to respond. You know, he don't really do many interviews like that, but if he was to do interviews when he go on a press run from the album, you know, if they decide to ask about that, I'm pretty sure he's just gonna brush it off. I doubt if he gonna respond lyrically. You know, he might take some subs. I ain't gonna say Nas is above, you know, taking some subliminals and all of that. He might take some subs. You know, he real clever with the wordplay and all of that. If you remember when they was beefing back in the days, he never really addressed them directly. Them, 50 Cent, a lot of people was coming at his head, you know, early, mid-2000s and all of that. And he wasn't really responding to everybody directly, but he would definitely throw some subliminals out there. When he was talking about Cam, when he said the line, blood and white chalk make pink, so what that make you? I don't remember the whole line right now, but blood and white chalk make pink, so what that make you? You know what I'm saying? When he was talking about 50, when he was talking about take 7 MCs, put them in a line and they out of a line. And my assignment, since he said retirement, hiding about 8 Mile in the Chronic, get rich but dies lying. This is high science. Now add 23 more for Queens to be more. I'm over their heads like a bulimic on a seesaw. Now that's 50 porch monkeys ate up at the same time. Nasty NASDAQ, y'all gonna bow homes, this Dow Jones. Remember that? A lot of people ain't even catch that was really a shot at 50. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't even really catch that, like I said. So he real clever with the wordplay and know how to go over niggas' heads, but make the shot land exactly where it's supposed to land. So he may or may not do that. I don't really expect him to do that. But we may or may not get some action from Nas when this album drops. Who knows? Who knows? Jim Jones might have inspired him a little bit, you know what I'm saying, to go in a different direction. So we'll see. But again, when it comes to legacy, when it comes to influence, Nas goes beyond just the old heads. That's another thing Jim Jones was saying. Yeah, you got a bunch of 40, 50-year-old niggas with their panties in a bunch because I said I was better than Nas. And it's like, don't underestimate the younger generation out here. All of the young niggas ain't lost in the sauce. There's a lot of young niggas out here that know what it really is, that know the difference between what's real and what's fake. And Nas got 50-year-old fans, 60-year-old fans, and 16-year-old fans. Nas, listen, what was it, 2 years ago? 2023, I think it was? Nas sold out Madison Square Garden with new music. It ain't like he did like a Illmatic anniversary or It Was Written anniversary or something from his legacy catalog where he was able to bring out the 40, 50-year-old heads to come fill up Madison Square Garden. Nas sold out Madison Square Garden with new material. New material. Jim Jones never sold out a stadium in his life, and he could never sell out a stadium in his life. Jim Jones can't fill up no stadium. Nas always on tour. Nas always on tour doing big venues where he headlining. Jim Jones, he's just another name on a flyer at a festival or something. His name is in small print at Hot 97 Summer Jams or 106 Birthday Bash or whatever these little festivals be. You know what I'm saying? He might be at Roots Picnic or something like that. His name is going to be small on one of the stages. He ain't going to be no big headliner of the show, closing the show out. Nas is selling out stadiums by himself. No other names on the marquee. Just Nas. Now, with new music. You know what I'm saying? Jim Jones could never. Dipset could never. Y'all think the Dipset did a reunion right now. Y'all think the Dipset can sell out Madison Square Garden? I'm gonna wait for y'all to answer. I'm gonna do this set and I'm gonna wait for y'all to answer. Y'all think Dipset could do a reunion concert and sell out Madison Square Garden? I want to know what y'all think. Yeah, do y'all think Dipset can sell out the Garden? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Hold on, I gotta take some of this weight down. I'm gonna switch this to the incline. So yeah, I don't think they could do it, to be honest. I don't think they could do it, to be honest. And so, again, man, all Jim Jones had to do was keep it respectful. You know what I'm saying? His response, it really says more about him than it does about Nas. So it's not really like no slight against Nas. It just, you know, make itself look bad. Make Harlem look bad. Make New York look bad. You know what I'm saying? And again, Jim Jones is not FBA, by the way. Jim Jones is not FBA, by the way. But imagine this. I want y'all to imagine this, though. Let's say Nas was on one of these podcasts. And this is a very plausible scenario right here. This is a very plausible scenario right here. Let's say Nas did one of these podcasts, and there was a video circulating online where somebody was saying Nas is better than Rakim. Nas is more influential than Rakim. Nas has a better catalog than Rakim. Nas is lyrically nicer than Rakim. You know, Nas, whatever, more successful than Rakim, sold more records than Rakim. You know, let's say there was a video online with somebody saying that, and somebody asked Nas about it on a podcast. You think Nas is going to respond with any type of disrespect toward Rakim? You think Nas is going to be like, what? Man, Rakim ain't more influential than me? That nigga was hot when I was in high school. That nigga Rakim, what? Yeah, he was cool. He was cool when I was in high school. But pull up that nigga Billboard charts and pull up my Billboard charts. Pull up his album sales and pull up my album sales. And if Nas was to do that, it wouldn't even be delusional. If Nas was to speak on Rakim like that, he would be technically 100% correct. He has had a more successful career than Rakim. He has surpassed Rakim in a lot of ways. But Nas would never respond in that way, or in any way that would be disrespectful toward Rakim, or disrespectful toward himself, disrespectful toward the culture. He would give respect where respect is due. You know, shout out to the fans that love what I do, but to be honest, y'all don't get me without Rakim. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate the brother for saying what he was saying. You know, much respect. But y'all don't get me without Rakim. That's how that would go. That's how that would go. And the thing is, because Nas is comfortable knowing that his name is rightfully in the same conversation with a Rakim. And that's probably how he would respond. He would probably be on some, it's just great to have my name in that conversation. You know what I'm saying? That's all I really wanted coming in this game, was to get the respect from the Rakims, from the Kings and all of that. And just to know that my name is in that conversation, that's success for me. Nas' response would have been something like that. But Jones knows that his name doesn't rightfully belong in that conversation. So he gotta crash out. He gotta crash out. Because he knows his name shouldn't even be brought up in the same breath. Let me get this set in. So again, Nas, knowing and understanding that he's actually worthy of the praise, he actually belongs in the conversation, gives him a level of comfortability to not have to crash out and be disrespectful toward the God. You know what I'm saying? Pay proper homage to the shoulders that he's standing on. Jimmy can't do that because he knows he's not really standing on those shoulders. You're not really standing on those shoulders. You here, you happy-go-lucky because you're lucky to be here. You happy-go-lucky because you're lucky to be here. You benefited from the collapse of the culture, from the deterioration of the culture. You know what I'm saying? Via the vultures in the suits, the executives and the people that cut the budgets for artists who decided that they wanted to steer the music genre in a different direction. Because when hip-hop was on its own trajectory, it required a certain amount of skill. It required a certain amount of skill, a certain level of artistry had to be displayed for you to be able to make it. But Jim Jones benefits from a time where all of those requirements and prerequisites were being erased and undermined. So he knows he's just lucky to be here. He don't really stand on those shoulders, because to stand on those shoulders would mean that you built on the foundation that was laid before you, that you took the lessons from the master teachers and you built on that to make something even greater. Nas can say that he did that. Nas can say that he stands on Rakim and Big Daddy Kane's shoulders, because he took those lessons that he learned from them and he built on it and elevated the game to another level. But he knows that he wouldn't be able to elevate it to another level if it wasn't for that foundation. So the respect and the honor is always going to be paid. You know what I'm saying? But for Jim Jones, he don't really stand on that platform. So why should he respect it? He's like an invader. He's like an invader. Like when you go to Egypt now, those pale Arabs over there in Egypt now, they don't really respect the pyramids and the monuments and all the stuff that's over there. They just exploit it. For them, it's just a way that they make money. That's their hustle. Because they know that those are their ancestors didn't build those pyramids. They know that they don't come from the bloodlines and the legacy of the people, the great architects that founded those civilizations. So they don't really have respect for it. They just exploit it for money and for tourism and all of that. But they don't look at it with the level of honor as if like this is what we did, this is what our bloodline did, because they know they ain't have nothing to do with it. Jim Jones is like that. He's like a modern day Egyptian, knowing that he don't come from Kemet, that he's a descendant of the invaders, the Persians that came later on and invaded. You know what I'm saying? That's Jim Jones. He's a tether. He's a tether. He's not a real architect. Nas is an architect. He's a pyramid builder. Let me get this next set in. Another thing Jones tried to do when Shay Shay and them was asking about ridiculous comments, another thing that he tried to do, he tried to brush it off. He tried to chalk it up to him bending the algorithm. He was like, you know, some of it is just me basically trolling. It's basically say bending the algorithm. That basically means trolling. Some of it is me just trolling, you know, whatever. And the thing is, you know, the internet is full of that. The internet is full of people just saying stuff to, quote unquote, bend the algorithm, to try to go viral, to try to get some attention, to try to be relevant. You know what I'm saying? But when you have somebody who has had a 25-year career as a celebrity that still will say anything for attention, that's really sad. You really have to just say ridiculous things to try to bend the algorithm so you can get some attention. Because why? Because you just being real, being who you are, doesn't garner the type of attention that you feel like you deserve. You dropping new music doesn't garner the type of attention that you delusionally feel that it should garner. You dropped the album at the beginning of this year. I think it was the beginning of this year or the end of last year, not too long ago. Some months back, Jim Jones dropped a new album. Why you ain't on tour right now? You're not even on tour right now. You know what I'm saying? You can't even fill up a venue. You got new music out, but you're supposed to be hot and more relevant than an icon right now. You know what I'm saying? You still gotta troll and say ridiculous shit to try to bend the algorithm to get some attention, because you can't get no attention organically and legitimately. You know what I'm saying? While Nas is out here making power moves. Nas is out here quietly making power moves. Not even really trying to get the attention for it. But when you look at Mass Appeal, what they got lined up right now, Slick Rick just dropped an album on Mass Appeal. You know what I'm saying? So you resurrected a legend, one of the icons that you look up to, one of the people that was hot when you was in high school, that you still got respect and love for. You know what I'm saying? And you gave them a platform to be able to express their creativity right now at this stage where you at in your 60s. So they just put out a new album by Slick Rick, a visual album as well as an audio album, and gave the man proper respect, proper platform to be able to express himself. They got a song together. You know what I'm saying? Nas talks about, even in the verse, he talks about what an honor it is to be on a song with Slick Rick and all of that. So that's the type of shit Nas is out here doing. Then on top of that, they got a new Mobb Deep album coming off of Mass Appeal. You know what I'm saying? Him, The Alchemist, and Havoc, you know, putting together a posthumous Prodigy Mobb Deep album that's getting ready to drop. You got a Raekwon the Chef album going to drop on Mass Appeal. Ghostface Killer album going to drop on Mass Appeal. Big L, another posthumous album from Big L, going to drop on Mass Appeal. And then his own album, produced by DJ Premier, you know, highly anticipated, long-awaited album. And he's just basically giving this type of shit to the fans at this point. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the billboards. It's not about trying to win awards or none of that. This is really just a gift to the culture at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's not nothing that he need to do for the money. You know what I'm saying? The man has been a shrewd businessman, made some great investments. He papered up. And so now he can create comfortably, and he can put other people in positions comfortably to be able to just give back to the culture that gave so much to him. I mean, how do you compare that? How do you compare that? Come on, man. Let's keep it a beam. We do this next set. So, again, as far as legacy goes, as far as influence goes, look, man, I wrote a book called From the Womb to Illmatic. It's available on Amazon right now. From the Womb to Illmatic, a hip-hop inspired blueprint for unlocking your child's inner genius. So, my son 7, you know, he was the muse for this project, but Illmatic was the audio muse for this project. We used Illmatic as the theme to be able to craft this blueprint, this step-by-step blueprint for you to be able to unlock your child's inner genius. So my son 7, you know, he was a very early learner. You know, he was reading at the age of 2, doing math and all of that stuff before he even started kindergarten. Just a very bright, very smart kid that we were able to unlock. It's not like we created a genius. You know, we didn't do no steps to be able to turn an ordinary kid into a genius. We just took the time and had the forward thought to be able to curate the right environment and the right information to trigger and unlock the genius that was already inside of him. And so when people saw the results that we were getting from our son, people would always ask, you know, what we were doing different, how did we do it, you know, what kind of tools are we using, so on and so forth. And so my book, From the Womb to Illmatic, is the answer. That's the answer to all the questions that we would get when people would see my son still in diapers, reading books and stuff like that, and solving multiplication problems and stuff like that when he was still just a toddler. People would always ask us, you know, what we were doing that was so different to get him to respond like that, to get him to pay attention like that. And so again, the book is the answer. I put everything in the book, I organized it, and I put together some QR codes and stuff like that so you guys can scan to download the apps, go to the YouTube channels and the websites that we use for free resources that we use to be able to help him unlock his potential. So go get the book, man. The book is on Amazon right now. Sincere Love to God, From the Womb to Illmatic, a hip-hop inspired blueprint for unlocking your child's inner genius. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, completely inspired by Illmatic. Every chapter in the book is named after one of the tracks on Illmatic, and we use that to guide us through the information and to break down all of the different categories. So it's a short read. You could probably read it in one day, but again, it's a guide, so it's something that will live with you throughout your children's childhood. You know what I'm saying? Or your grandchildren, or nieces and nephews, or whoever it is. It will live with you throughout the childhood, because you can always refer back to it as I give you daily rituals and things like that you can follow in your child's journey to unlocking that inner genius. So again, go get the book off of Amazon, From the Womb to Illmatic. You know what I'm saying? We holding down that Nasir Jones legacy, that Illmatic legacy, and we creating our own legacies through our offspring. You know what I'm saying? And we're trying to create a generation of black geniuses out here. And so this is my contribution to that effort. You know what I'm saying? So if you got some babies that's in your life, they only got to be your babies. But if you know somebody that got some young children in their life, some newborns, some toddlers, you know what I'm saying? Because the book is designed for parents that are expecting children, pregnant with children, or have children up to about around 8, 9 years old. This book is for them. So if that's you or somebody you know, go ahead and get the book off of Amazon, From the Womb to Illmatic, available now. I'll holler at y'all a little bit later, man. I'm gonna finish this workout. About to break this shit down and do some dumbbell presses and some flies, and go hit the cable machines, and then do my cardio and get up out of here. But I appreciate y'all rocking with me this morning, man. I'm out. Peace and